Welcome to the Inside Track on Real Estate with the Dekker Team. And today we got a really special show for you. I have Valerie with me, and Valerie has the, I think you're unique in that you're probably the only person I know that lives in a tiny home. Mm-hmm. And tiny homes are becoming popular. I guess for several reasons. We're going to go over some of those. Mm-hmm. But we're excited to discuss this and learn about tiny homes. Yeah. So what got you to do this in the first place?
So first of all, just for anybody who may not know yet, a tiny home is generally classified about 100 square feet per person. So that's what we live in. There's three of us. It's 372 square feet. And so it's my husband, my 3-year-old daughter, and myself. And we do have a 50-pound dog, so she counts as well.
Doesn't she get 100 square feet?
She gets 70 to 72. So that
so
I
see.
Okay. She's a little small. It's fun. So she gets the smaller amount. So my husband took the Algonquin carpentry program, the housing construction program, and that's where he first learned about this concept. And this is back in 2010, right before the tiny home movement started to hit mainstream. It's about 15 years old, but not in the mainstream. So he introduced this concept to me and said, "What do you think about a tiny home?" I didn't know what that meant.
Okay. And what did you live in?
A regular 1,800 square foot raised country home.
So you had some room.
Yep. We had a 3-bedroom home with full finished basement. And we started to take stock over a 2-year period of where do you spend all of your time? So we just started to write down, what percentage do we spend in the living room, the bedroom, the kitchen. And it turned out that we had a lot of space that was generally unused almost all of the time. Mm-hmm. So we started to design and brainstorm where do we spend our time, and design a floor plan around that. So,
and you at that time you didn't have a little one.
That's right. No, we didn't. We started renovation for our tiny home the week she was born, which I don't recommend. It's something that took a little while, and then went on around her first birthday, we moved into the tiny home when she was 1. Okay. So we've been living there for 2 years.
So you said it took about 2 years for your husband to convince you?
Yes, I wasn't convinced that I would be able to get rid of everything that I love. So over a 2-year period, we actually sold everything that we owned, except for even most of our books, we sold those, and the clothing, the day-to-day essentials. But we sold everything else that we own.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, that must have been a process. Let's talk about that right now.
Sure.
What was that process like to decide, what do I keep? What do I get rid of? And even people that are, we run into this with seniors when they have to move from their family home to assisted care or a senior's home, and they're moving into basically a bedroom.
Yes.
They share other common areas, but they're moving into a bedroom, so they have to bring whatever they want for that bedroom, and that's it.
Yeah. So there were a couple of concepts that helped. And one was, who's going to throw this out? Because eventually someone will have to get rid of it. And is it going to be us, or is it going to be my daughter? So it allowed us to decide, why is this going to be in our home? And if it doesn't bring great beauty or joy of some description, a piece of art, for example, I did keep a sculpture that I absolutely love, or great function. It has to have function. If it's not one of those two things, and if we're still sometimes sentimental value, it's hard to let go. Mm-hmm. So even things that I had a tougher time negotiating with myself, I would put them in a box away for 3 months. And then I would see, did I miss it? Do I need it? And if I, after 3 months, couldn't remember what's in the box, I knew that I wasn't going to miss it. And some I would take 6 months. And then I would take a photo. If I really had a treasured keepsake, one was a little, those little snow globe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They don't take much room.
They don't. And I had a friend, it said on the bottom, best friends forever. It was given to me when I was in grade 6. This person and I haven't spoken for a decade. And
we're not best friends
forever. And I thought, let's take a picture, because I moved it all, my university, college. I took it everywhere with me, but it had served its purpose. I took a photo of it so I can reflect on it if I need to, and we gave it away. And I remember, but I still remember it. The memory is not gone, and the friendship that was my childhood friendship is still there. But my daughter doesn't need to take up space, so it didn't make the cut for what made the 372 square feet.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, so that's very interesting, and I guess it would certainly prevent hoarding.
Yes, and I find like the other part of the story. So when my father passed away, he had actually, whether we call it fortune or misfortune of being forced to downsize, he'd had to get rid of everything because he had to leave his home, and he'd already selected his most important possessions and put them in a storage locker. And so when he passed away, all we had was a storage locker of things to go through. And that was incredibly helpful because we didn't have to make those decisions of would he want us to keep it? And well, no, he got rid of it himself. So that was helpful because often we have that attachment. So if we just have sentiment in memories and experiences rather than stuff, it helps us not to go shopping. So we don't, even when my husband and I go, we love craft fairs, but we've started, as we go now, we say, where is this going to go? And if it goes nowhere, then it stays on the counter, and it's nice to browse. Money. Yeah, it does. Yeah. Because all of our monthly expenses are on things we do together, not stuff that we keep or have.
Yeah, they say that there's a big difference between people that buy stuff and people that buy experiences in sometimes the quality of their life, because the stuff can actually drag us down. We got to maintain it. We got to care for it. We got to store it. We got to do all kinds of things. Own people, you. I mean, look at the beautiful storage units they're building all over Ottawa so that people can keep their stuff.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And I find that those storage places are a good transition option. So if someone isn't ready to let go of the stuff, pay for the storage locker for the month, 2 months, 3 months, however long you want to keep paying for your stuff until you're ready to let it go. And after paying for it for 6 months, realizing, wow, and because you are still paying for that in your own square footage, if you just haven't moved it off site. And if you were to get rid of it, you may not need it as much square footage, which is what we found.
Which you have to heat and do all that.
Clean. It takes us 30 minutes top to bottom to clean our whole house, which is great.
30 minutes.
30 minutes, because it's the 50% of our home is the kitchen, and the other 50% is kitchen/office. So our kitchen, I can go over the layout if you'd like, because we spent most of the time in the kitchen. It's where even we had a large corporate party at my old corporate job, and we were at a mansion in Orleans of the CEO. And there were 17 people, and we didn't leave the tile space of the kitchen. Yeah. Huge home, but people congregate in the kitchen.
And they congregate around the center island or whatever,
That's right? So our kitchen is beautiful. I have a full stainless steel, beautiful fridge. My tile floor sparkles under the low pot lights. And the kitchen is marvelous. I've got my coffee station, and I have a family of 3. So cutting the kitchen was not an option. And then on the other side, we have a kitchen table that folds down when it's not in use and folds up when we need it. And my daughter, all of her toys, they go in a laundry basket. If it doesn't fit in that laundry basket, it doesn't get to stay. Because, I mean, kids are they play with a spoon. It doesn't matter. So that's all she gets to have.
Wait till birthday parties.
So when and we've had that experience. So when even at Christmas time, and we were working to educate our families about what to do around Christmas. But before we know she'll be receiving or choosing something, she has to get rid of 5 items if she wants to replace it with something else. And it helps her to not stay attached to things that she's no longer plays with. And I actually watched her want to get rid of a stuffed animal that I have kept. And she said, I don't need this. I'm like, well, we'll just keep this here. So because the sentiment is still in my life. But it's helping her understand, it is just stuff. The people are what are here. And it also removes certain fears of like fire and things like that, because there's certain people always grab the photo album or their computer, and those 2 things are easy to grab, and the rest of it is all it's easier to replace if you have let go of the attachment.
Right. So you've lost that attachment to materialism. Except for what's in there.
Yeah,
you've
except for what we've kept.
And does that make it more precious, the things you've kept?
I don't know, because they couldn't increase in value from what I already... They stayed around because they were there, but it does make shopping conscious. So today is, in terms of like shopping or sale days or on the holidays, I'm able to tune all of that out because I don't have anything to buy. So that's good.
Well, that's great. That's great. And so how do you handle, this is December 23rd, actually. And so how do you handle Christmas? What do you do experiences instead of gifts, or what kind of things? Because gifts can fill up a place. It's
a work in progress. So sometimes people love to give, and sometimes it's difficult to communicate we really appreciate, tickets to a local, there's something in Ottawa, the Gym Tail. It's a place where she can go and play for as long as she wants. Tickets to something like that are very helpful. But what we've realized is that, it's not when someone gives us a gift that we don't have room for, that we say, we don't have room, and give it back to them. We just are very gracious with it and then give it forward, because it's something that if we don't have space for it, or if it's something that was given to our daughter, she can select another item at home that it has to replace, because she doesn't get to have both. But we are trying to get the word out about clothing, experiences, things that we can do together as a family. We love to eat out, even though we have a beautiful kitchen. So gift cards, things like that we can do and take together.
Okay. Now, some people might feel a little claustrophobic and 375 square feet.
No.
Do you have outdoor space?
Well, that's the other part.
So you're not in the city.
We are. We're in Barhaven.
Oh, in Barhaven?
Yeah.
Okay. So
We
you're
spend
somewhat in the
that's
city.
actually a good point. We spend a lot of time outdoors.
Okay.
So, and people ask us about, it was actually one of our neighbors had asked, what do you do when you just, you want to slam a door, you need your own space, and go outside. And that one person who needs to take a breath of fresh air can go take a breath of fresh air. And it actually helps you not to tune out the other people in your family. So my husband and I, I know the old adage, don't go to bed angry, so that's good. But when you are within elbow's touch, passing through the house, you deal with whatever the conflict is, because that having that negativity floating in a small space, you're able to clear it out a lot more quickly, I find.
Yeah. No, that's interesting, because if we look back in decades, centuries back, the houses were very small because it was difficult to heat them, and the washroom was outside, so you didn't need space for that.
Yeah.
And you put the bathtub was a tank, that you carried in, you put close to the fireplace because you froze when you were getting in the wintertime. But families were close.
They still are everywhere else in the world, just not North America.
Yeah.
And that's where we got a lot of our design ideas too, is, Europe, it's sardines. In the Orient, they're very close together. So all the design ideas are already out there. Okay. We're just we're applying them here. And boats. Boats provide great inspiration for
boats and trailers?
Boats, especially boats.
Especially boats?
Yeah, because there's no outside something on the outside that you could put a little bin or something. Boats, you get what you get.
Okay, yeah. Trailers have the pop-outs, right? There, so they can expand out the side when you're actually in them. Yeah. So you don't get that advantage.
Yeah, and and I find too, if people, in terms of claustrophobia, layers help, because it's not 300 square feet in an open room. Because our daughter sleeps in a cubby underneath our bed, for example. So we have a king size bed in our space, and we have a step that he built to get up to our bed, and then underneath my bed, which is 6 feet by 6 feet, there's a twin bed on one side, so it's fine for an adult to sleep there as well. And the other side is a roll-out closet of 12 feet of closet space. So I have as much room for my clothes as I need, because it just rolls out from underneath, and that just tucks away. And she has her own.
So what ceiling height would you be working with?
8 feet.
8 feet?
Yep.
So I'm just trying to visualize this. So your king side bed is up about 4 feet off the ground?
That's right. So we have about 3.5 feet of headroom, which, as a person sitting up, we have about this much room above where our head would be, and it's
okay. So you can sit up.
Yeah, because that would otherwise be a little bit claustrophobic. So we have little padding on because the vents, the vent part comes a little lower on either side, so we put little foam so our daughter doesn't clunk her head, and we pick a decorative fabric that we liked for the decor of it. But kids like to be it's like, and even animals like the caves. We like a den. So it's, and for her room is
cozy.
her den.
It's cozy, eh?
Yeah.
So her ceiling height's like 4 feet when she's in her bedroom.
Hers is 3. Yeah, because the space of the bed and in between is about a foot. So yeah, we each get about 3.5 feet of space.
Okay. All right. Well, if you've just joined us, you're listening to the Inside Track on Real Estate, and we're discussing tiny homes. Yeah. And they're very, very, I'm not going to use the word vogue. What are they? They're coming into style.
Trend. It's a new trend.
It's a trend.
But I don't think it's a fad. It's a trend because people, especially the current generation of people looking at home ownership, they're wanting to travel a lot, the freedom, they're changing jobs often. They're not necessarily looking for a large footprint to deal with. And it's something that we used to live in a college dorm when we had mentioned about downsizing in retirement to go to a home of one room. Well, we started off in one room. I lived in university, and my room was actually 6 by 8 feet when I was in university, was my dorm room for a couple of years. So you deal with that space. We tend to expand to the space that we have.
Yeah, and I think if you're talking like in a dorm, you're probably out with people in common areas and a lot of things. So really, it's your bedroom, right?
And your office.
Maybe a desk,
your bedroom and your office,
study desk or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So you add on a kitchen, and then that's what else?
No, I
do you
meant
need?
your dorm.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
expanding that to the tiny home concept, add on a kitchen. That's all you
Kitchen
need.
and a bathroom, and you're set.
You're good. And then go be outside.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So we talked about your sleep quarters. Now, are they open to the rest of the space? How do you deal with lighting and ambient light from, TVs or clock radios or all that kind of stuff? How do you manage that stuff?
We don't need clock radios or TV in our place, so we do
no
have
TV.
No TV.
Nice.
Yeah, we each have a computer, and so Netflix provides and Sportsnet provides our entertainment after she's in bed, because when she's awake, we only have a few hours with her every evening, so we don't need any TV on. We play with her, and but after she goes to bed, Netflix is there, and the room, our little stairwell up to our bedroom, it's 2.5 feet there where light could come in, but at night all the lights are off, so there's the windows are opaque, so there's no.
So is your bed kind of closed in?
Yeah, it's closed in. We have full cupboards in front of it. That's the shelving. Okay. And then in her room, she has a little curtain for her little cubby space. So we found a sound machine is the secret to a small space when one person is sleeping. So we have white noise on our. And that's the thing, you can put more money into the details. So we've got our Bose speaker that goes in her room, has a iPad, puts on the white noise, and she can't hear us. And we can play right outside the curtain, and she can't hear us. And kids sleep. They sleep.
Kids sleep well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have a half-hour quiet time after she goes to bed, but then we play games and play chess. And
then there must be a big economic benefit based on heating costs, taxes, all that stuff.
Yes, and I mean, I know ours is it's a different concept because we are in we're in a small area of a larger space. So we own the home. Okay. We're in 372 square feet that we've designed for our whole family, and then we rent out the other part of the home.
Okay, very cool.
And often people will do it the opposite. They'll rent out a little bachelor space that's designed for one, and then they'll live upstairs, and we decided to do an opposite. So we have a full mortgage payment with our rental space, and we live in the smaller space.
So you almost live for free.
We do. Yeah. We pay utilities, but we don't pay for our mortgage, but the mortgage is being paid for.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Okay. Now I did do a little bit of research on tiny homes, and in some areas like New York and big cities, they actually run into a little bit of problem because, the other thing that was interesting is some of the tiny homes, 400, 500 square feet that are done up, they actually sell for more per square foot.
Per square foot.
Than a larger property because of the extras, the Murphy
details.
beds, the details, the folding walls, the dining room tables that collapse, and all kinds of different things to create that space and the multi-purpose use of the space,
right?
Which is very cool. And what it's actually doing, there was one that was, I'm trying to remember, it was like $1,500 per square foot or something in this apartment. And what it's doing is driving up the price of the bigger units because people are saying, well, if the little one's worth that, then the big one should be worth more.
Okay.
And so it's an interesting concept. And so part of it is for economy. It's supposed to be for economics for people that maybe don't have as much money. They want to, or they decide that's just not where they want to spend their money.
That's right.
Right? Because it's all choices. Everybody makes a choice as to what they want to put their money to. And so they were saying that it's creating an overcrowding as well in some center cores of cities. But I think that's probably unique to those cities that they they have that problem to start with because it's so expensive.
Sure. And I think it's the balance. I know that certain minimums in the past were put in place, from my understanding, the past were put in place because they didn't want people to be able to be forced to live in a closet because a landlord was able to get away with a little closet saying, here, live in our home, and it's too small for a functional living. However, now the trend is on the market demand of, we don't need a big space to put all this stuff that we don't own. So if it is ethically built and it has proper quarters, plumbing, heating, and with the details that are more expensive per detail for Murphy beds and things like that, it's the market drives that behavior. So
yeah. And then ventilation, because you're living in a smaller space. So what kind of ventilation are you using to make sure you're getting good oxygen in there?
Well, we had, when we renovated, and it's interesting of cost per square foot, our area, which is in sort of an underground, almost the basement area, is the driest and most comfortable space because we were able to super insulate the walls and make the shell very comfortable because we had a small amount of space to put that money into. And then it's direct vented out into the house according to the city bylaws, because you can't have a furnace unit in an area where you sleep. So it's in a separate room that direct vents out of the house, if that helps.
And so do you have like a HRV system, like the heat recovery ventilation that circulates the air out, or is it just a regular furnace that's blowing air into your? It's
a regular furnace. In our space. When we've looked at the independent ones on wheels, then there's certain ones that are on boats and other tiny homes that have just a wall unit that is able to heat the home that way, or even a tiny stove.
Yeah, it's just more bringing fresh air in rather than just reheating the same air that you've been breathing, right?
Yes. Our home is it does have a regular ventilation system, the way a furnace and direct.
Perfect. Yeah. So I'm just looking at some of the other things I might want to ask you. So you said you look at boats for the design. It took you 2 years to decide and then 2 years to build it. Is that right?
It was a year to build it. And during the 2 years of the campaign for him to get me to do this was designing it. So it was, and no square foot or inch doesn't have a function, because even in our, we've got an island and there's the two counters with the stove, and this one corner area where they overlap could be looked as dead space because there's no cupboard part that's there. So on the other side, we dug a hole, and that's her cubby where her toys go, as opposed to it could just be a wall in another kitchen or another unit that's there. We turn it into a space. Right. And even in her bedroom, we have inset shelving so that she can put the little speaker and her water and her books all within the little cubby space that she lives in. So everything has a shelf, or there's art somewhere, there's something occupying all of it. It's not, what's that corner for? That doesn't exist. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's interesting. Wow. So if somebody was thinking about it, what would be, your pros and cons? What have you found? You've lived in it for a couple of years? 2 years now.
Yep.
So tell us about a little bit pros and cons of someone who might be thinking of making that switch to a tiny home.
Pros are a long list. You save time, money, energy on cleaning your home, because I'm not much of a housekeeper, so it's nice to just cross that off of the list. A lot of energy is put back into your life when you're not constantly considering, what do I buy? And that really is a benefit that is because of the space, not the other way around. Your relationships get more attention because you don't just shut a door. You do spend more time outdoors. You get more activity. The cons, I find, if you're not naturally a tidy person, then you don't have a space that you just put your stuff in and shut a door that you'll deal with later, because that is the space you're in. So I'd recommend. You don't
have the stuff not to be tidy.
Well, but even it's funny. Some of the day-to-day things we don't think of, we bring in from work, or if you've got your jacket somewhere, the jacket can't go on a chair somewhere off in the mudroom because there's no mudroom. It has to go in the closet when you get home. So things just as you use them have to be put away, which is good roommate policy anyway. But but then the tidy up is quick. So I find that could be one. And then the quiet, depending on how many people that are there, it's just considering what are the different options. If two people want to do two different things, But that's where the relationship, more compromise does happen, as opposed to, oh, we don't have to compromise, we'll go be in 2 separate rooms. And that's an option, but I find that there can be a lot of disconnect that happens because you can not see your family for a week. Whereas even when he and I are very busy with a toddler and our business, we bump elbows every day. We say hello, we see each other because you don't have a choice. Mm-hmm. So that I find is, those would be the pros and cons.
So do you have a couch?
Nope. We each have but we invested in very comfortable office chairs that we do love. Okay. And during the playtime, so because the office chairs, we need them during the day, but we have a king size bed, so that turns into sort of a makeshift den for us. When
No, I'm just thinking because sometimes when couples have a disagreement, someone ends up sleeping on the couch.
Well, and that's the thing. You just don't do that. You don't get the option to say, you go sleep on the couch. And maybe you go for a drive till I'm asleep and you come home, and that can happen. And it's not unheard of, but sometimes all you need is that deep breath and a little bit of space. And there was a comedian that had said that. She said, my husband said he wanted more space, so I locked him outside. And it always stuck with me because it's not unfair. But we have a dog, so that also helps I'm just going to go take her for a walk, and that all of it is dealing with it in a healthy way, as opposed to a silence that can grow in a larger home if you don't have to deal with it. Yeah,
absolutely. I've always said, my wife wants to sleep on the couch, that's fine. Or if she wants me to sleep on the couch, that's fine. She's going to be with me. We're both going to sleep on the couch because that's not going to happen. Yeah, great. All right. Well, I've just got a property that I'd love to talk about. And unfortunately, it's not a tiny home. And yet, it's got a great basement. Could be turned into a tiny home in the basement. This property is in Greeley. It's a lovely bungalow, 5-bedroom. If you got a big family, this one would be perfect for someone who had a blended family. Sometimes families come together and they have 2-3 children from each side, and you need some bedrooms. It's $497,700. Yeah, and beautiful 1-acre lot. So if you got a big family and need to get outside, you can get outside, and it's nice and private. We have another one on Marcella. It's just south of Greeley, $660,000, and it's a beautiful bungalow and vaulted ceilings, really lovely granite, and the hardwood flooring is what's it called? I just lost the name. Anyways, it's got beautiful hardwood flooring, cherry, that's what it is. It's cherry wood, wonderful, and it has a separate garage, which could probably be turned into a tiny home if you figured out how to get heat and water and electricity out there, and sewage treatment. That could be turned into a tiny home, because I believe the Ottawa is changing their rulings to allow for basically tiny homes out in the backyard.
The interest is there. It's growing.
Yeah, so that's great. So we're glad you joined us on the Inside Track on real estate, even if it's a tiny home, or especially if it's a tiny home. Thanks for joining us.